Awesome, awesome. Oh man, good to see y'all. Good to see y'all. At least the rain didn't stop you, right? The rain didn't stop you. The rain is necessary. We all need the rain. We're all like flowers in a garden, and we all need that good rain so that we can actually grow. All right? Yeah, so God sends us rain. He gives us the sunlight and still gives us his word so we can have everything. We've been studying about the works of the flesh and the fruit of the spirit, but we are on the works of the flesh, right? On the works of the flesh. So I'm just going to open up the floor and see if anybody remember anything from last week, from what we studied so far. I know we had a real good discussion, so y'all should have been hands up. All right, go ahead. She got her hands up. Don't shoot. Mm-hmm.
I know that part of it was one topic we hit on was about, you mentioned 4 different categories about sin, areas of sin. One was sexual sins, immorality. One was about the relational sins. One was about the religious sins, and the other one was social.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked up some of them and whatnot, but in different areas. But what it all boils down to from the reading and what, even as far as we come so far in my reading at home, is that any of this that we be found guilty of, it could keep us from going to heaven.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, Sister Pat was talking about those categories, and one thing we need to continue to understand with all of these were self-centered. All of these things depend upon what I, me, you do.
Yeah.
So
Vitamin I.
as we go through this, let's continue to remember that all of it is self-centered.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Anybody else? Okay, Sister Betty.
Also, we studied that the works of the flesh is governed, it's come from, the source of the works of the flesh is from the devil.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's telling us that we are to be guided by the Spirit. So the fruits of the Spirit is the source comes from Jesus Christ and God.
Mm-hmm.
And we also know that within each person, we have these 2 types of situations: the works of the flesh and the fruits of the spirit. They war against one another.
Mm-hmm.
And that teaches us that as Christians, see, the works of the flesh is to satisfy our own gratitude, as Brother Frank was saying a few minutes ago. And see, if we live by the fruits of the spirit, then we're going to live according to the way God tells us to live.
Mm-hmm. All right. Sister Strickland, she had a hand up over there.
I discovered working on a topic that when we compare the fruit of the spirit and the works of the flesh,
Mm-hmm.
that if we look at what God expects of us, he expects all those that relate to the fruit of the spirit, and that God also manifests these same works. Mm-hmm. So when we're doing those work, when we're using those fruit in our life, when we have tried to get them in like they ought to be, we are being like God. We're being like Christ. And then, on the other hand, look at all those that are the work of the flesh. God has none of those. Not one.
Mm-hmm.
That was a discovery from me.
That's good. That's a good point. Okay, so this side over here is pretty much exhausted. It's like 4-0. So, I mean, what is this side over here going to do? Okay, see, Brother Baker, he said he going to take a hit. Brother Baker, he's actually contemplating switching sides.
Well, part of the mind's already out there. So I was going to say that I learned if you're living in the flesh, you do fleshly things. And if you live in the spirit, you're doing godly things.
Mhm.
That's what I learned.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Now he's broken the ice. All right. I mean, all really good comments, and even from last week, because even this week, I was still in looking over some material for today. I was still actually on the openness and the testimony that our dear sister over there, Sister Jackie, had presented, and I know that so many people elaborated on that, commented on that, and I thank her for that. I actually called her and the next day, and really thanked her for that actually, because it actually opened up a window on some things. So last week we talked about this. Before I even get into the lesson, let me just show you something. How God had already revealed all of this to us, to show us that the works of the flesh actually is dangerous, but then the work of the Spirit is what God is after. In the Garden of Eden, when man sinned, we know that sin entered man, right? Has anybody in here ever, you see a lot of stuff, I'm just going to try to, I'm going to put it in a way that we can all understand. Anybody in here ever smoked? You smoked, right? And then before, they didn't have no warning, right? Until then, after the government started going after big tobacco, they said, oh, we got to put this warning on there. And anybody remember there was a category of people they put on there and said, these people should not smoke. Anybody remember, like pregnant women, right? Pregnant women. And why? Because the carcinogens, all the toxins in the cigarettes, could actually have an adverse effect on the child. And so they warned you, they told you, Surgeon General warning, don't do it because this will happen. So guess what? They're warning you to these dangers. And if they enter into your body, it alters your chemical makeup. And there could actually end up being deformities. There could also be all kind of different lifelong diseases that the child could actually develop, asthma and all these other stuff, right? Respiratory stuff. The thing about it, when man sinned in the garden, sin then altered man's DNA. God had already made man to reproduce. So man, just like all the other animals, were to reproduce. So your DNA mixed with the woman's DNA produces a child, right? So your DNA was already corrupted. So what happened is that the Bible lets us know that when one man sinned, sin entered the world. And then sin transcended man's generation. Watch the kicker. God said, not so with my son when my son is coming into the world. Man will not mix his DNA with my son to corrupt my son. So the works of the flesh from sin's creation up until Christ, what did it produce? Sin. We studied that in the book of Romans. The first Adam, sin entered the world, but it took the second Adam who was without sin. Because now man's DNA did not corrupt Jesus. So now Jesus came as a sinless. He came as the sinless one. He did not have no human DNA in him other than what was in Mary. You see that? So now Jesus, and we know that as long as Jesus lived, he lived a sinless life. Not a life where he sinned less, but he lived a sinless life. Because man lives a sinful life, God is not asking us to live a sinless life like Jesus, but a sinless life than the rest of the world. Paul lets us know that again. We studied all this in the book of Romans. All have S-I-N-N-E-D. There is none righteous. So Paul is not trying to tell you that you have to be perfect. Paul even tells us in Romans, we studied it in the book of Romans. You're going to hear me say it a lot, right? We studied in the book of Romans. Because again, holy living, right? We studied it all in the book of Romans. Paul says, his personal testimony was, there are times when I want to do some things. I know what is right. I know what I need to do, but then I find myself not doing it. This is an apostle trying to tell you this. An apostle whose doctrine we're following. So I want you to pay attention to something that Paul wrote. And again, like I say, a lot of times when we read too fast, we may miss it. He gives you all of this about the works of the flesh. But look at what he said, because I want you to, and we're going to go back again and look at them, right? So if you drop down real quick to verse 21. Verse 21. Verse 21. And just like the last part of the last part of it, after the last comma, what does it say? All right, we read it too fast and we missed it. They that do what? Okay. You see what it is? You see it, right? Who practice. The Bible lets us know that the righteous will stumble. The righteous man may fall 7 times, but he's going to get back up. But the unrighteous man, he's just going to fall 1 time. Right? Now here is it. Paul says that if you practice, if you make these things habitual, it's not saying that you're not going to, look, it tells you up there about some of the things, right? All of them. We're going to go back again and look at it. But if you make this life a habitual life, if you make these practices habitual, then you who practice, again, underline that word practice because that's what it means. You make it the habit. That's your lifestyle. Yeah, if that is it, then you will not inherit the kingdom of God. I told you before, some people, the Bible says, do not be drunk with wine, wherein is dissipation, right? But he said, but we must be filled with what? So a person who may just say like, oh, it's my birthday today and I'm just going to celebrate, I'm going to have a glass of wine. They don't know their tolerance. They drink the glass of wine and now they get drunk. Is that a habitual thing? Is that a practice? No, it's not a practice. The same thing that Solomon tells us, that wine is a mocker, but strong drink is raging. It is the person who is deceived by it. Because there are some people who will be like, oh, this ain't on. I can handle my liquor. Y'all are probably some of the very ones who said that too. I can handle my liquor. And you know it. And you made that a practice, right? You make these things a practice, a habit, you will not inherit the kingdom of God. All right? Can we go back to our lesson now? All right. We're going to look at our stuff. So we started at verse 19 last week. And we looked up there about the sexual sins that he actually talked about, right? And so let me pull back up there too. Now the works of the flesh are evident, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lewdness, right? And so talk about these, that adultery was actually, we talk about it, exiting the marital bounds, or the boundaries of marriage, right? Let me give you an imagery that I want to keep in your head. Anybody ever took a look, take a look at the rivers? The rivers as they flow? The rivers have banks, right? You know, the banks are the guides, the channel that the river navigates, right? And you normally look to see, like, as long as everything stays below the level of the banks, that river is fine. It's fine. But now what happened when the river overflows the banks? Yeah, flooding. But I was actually looking for something more than just flooding. It is out of bounds because now the water is not contained within the boundaries. And now that you went over and beyond the boundaries, you are liable of doing more damage. So yeah, you get the flooding, but you have some damages that's actually coming with it. That's what you could look at with adultery, right? Because marriage is that river. And God actually tells you that in marriage there are boundaries that we must actually operate within. But when things don't go wrong and now we're filled with sin and we puffed up and we rise up above the banks and we overflow the banks, now we're actually venturing into other territory to do damage. Because a lot of times it's not only the husband and wife that's hurt. It's not only the wife that's hurt because the husband did something or the husband had an extramarital affair. And it is not just the man who hurts if the wife has an extramarital affair. Because now you could have children involved. You see how now the river overflowing the banks, how now it can actually do damage. You could also have a whole bunch of different financial things that's actually happening. You lose other friends, not just your kids, but now you have other friends that's there. You lose your friends, you lose your trust, lose your reputation. You see all the damage that it actually brings? So look at that now. So adultery, the Bible said, now don't do it. Just operate within the bounds. Now he says like fornication, and we know fornication, again, we look at it as only just like sex between unmarried individuals. But that's more. Fornication is much more than that. It's a much broader term than adultery, because adultery involves married parties. But with fornication involves a whole lot more. Fornication even involves, a lot of people may say, well, I don't need nobody now in my life. And whatever you do, that's your business. I'm not trying to get into your business. I'm only just trying to let you know what the scripture says. Even self-gratification is fornication. When you look at the big picture of it and what it entails, bestiality is fornication. Now you see, it's not just between an unmarried man and an unmarried woman. Adultery is even covered under fornication. Again, because it's illegal, right? So when you look at it, adultery is a broad umbrella that covers a whole lot of fornication. I'm saying adultery. And I even mentioned the days when chastity was something that was actually revered. I even talked to you about how people courted, right? And now we don't have nobody courting anymore. And it was a good thing. That back then in Brother Baker's them days, you could find a lot of virgins. But in today's world, today's society, it's hard to find a lot of them. In the society we live, man, I don't want to get off my topic, but it is a part of my topic. You have where even mothers will even try to put up their little daughters and with boyfriends. Man, the girl is 9. She's 10. She still needs to be figuring out math. Now how to figure out about boyfriend, you can't even handle a breakup. You want to cry all day long and lock yourself in your room and go get tubs of ice cream and eat ice cream, and that little girl, she still got to go to school, and you want her to deal with what? Because little Johnny ran off and said that he don't want to be with her no more, and now she can't even contain her old self? No, we don't do that. So the society, I even mentioned it, back then you had, you hear the word grandma and you thought somebody old. Now you hear grandma 35. Anyway, talk about uncleanness. And uncleanness, we talk about these are the thoughts and everything, right? Jesus even talked about that. You don't have to commit the act, because the minute you commit that, you think about it in your head, you done committed the act already in your heart, right? That's what he said, right? It begins there. So the thoughts, the seat of our consciousness, our reason, our rationale, if this is corrupt, because now all we're doing is having a bunch of uncleanness, yeah. Mm-hmm. So unclean thoughts, the Bible even tells us about that. We got to put those thoughts away. And if we let the mind of Christ be in us, then we will think about that. The Bible even tells us, don't think about the earthly things, which when you look at those are earthly because they're work of the flesh. He tells you to set your minds on things, set your mind on things above. Set your mind on things above. So unclean thoughts and everything else, it's only going to come from you setting your mind above and thinking about heavenly things. Tells you about lasciviousness. Lasciviousness or lewdness, or that again is that type of behavior where you just says it's unbridled, unrestrained. We're just going to do it anyway. No limits. Shake what your mama gave you. You walk around pretty much half naked and you say like, because I can do it. It's mine, I can show it off. That's lasciviousness. The people, again, we talk about that. Give you an example, like people who went to the clubs, right? And sometimes it ain't even just about the clubs. I only gave that. But you go to an event, and you go to an event because you're trying to get somebody. And you want the attention. And so you dress for the occasion. I want attention, and so I'm going to push everything up here. And then when the wrong person look at you, what are you looking at? Come on, you in my way. All right? Okay, so we talk about that, lewdness. And then we talk about the next verse. The next verse actually lets us know, we talk about there are two sins in there that's actually spiritual sins, and we're going to talk about those. Idolatry and sorcery, right? Or another word we see for it is witchcraft. So idolatry or witchcraft, we're going to try and talk about those. And, Sister Jackie she's going to open the window to something else now. Take me off of my soapbox.
I was just wanting to just make a comment again about the sexual immorality, because I've heard or just been in conversation with someone who said, well, we did everything but that. And I was like, well, that's still sex. That's, it's not the point that you got to go all the way. You're still doing things that should be done in the marital realm. Yeah. Not being single. Yeah, like the people who are dating. The people who are dating. They want to experience everything, but we're just not gonna take our clothes off, but we're gonna go every place else that we need. Well, I tell you, and then you set the mood and turn up the temperature, and then you know what that is like? Anybody in here ever bungee jump? No? Not in Lumberton. Nobody in Lumberton. You know what bungee jump really is? Bungee jump is really like, I want to commit suicide, but not right now. And that's what you're doing, right? I'm jumping off of this bridge. I want to commit suicide, but not right now. Woo, boy, that was good. That's exactly what you do when you're talking about what you're talking about. I want to go all the way, but ooh, I didn't go all the way right there, boy. But it sure felt good, didn't it? Got to be careful. Got to be careful. And that's exactly what the Bible is trying to tell us. Idolatry. And so what is idolatry really? Tell us about idolatry. What is that? Who wants to go with
Anything that you worship.
Okay. Anything
other than the living God.
Is it anything you worship? Is it just worship? Or anything that you put before God?
Okay. Anything you put.
Anything that actually takes God's place. Yeah. Anything that takes God's place. And let's not forget, when you actually look back in the hold on a minute, let me go to this reference real quick. All right. So Exodus chapter 20. Exodus chapter 20. And this is the 10 Commandments. Okay? Exodus chapter 20. And this is the 10 Commandments. Notice the very first commandment. Verse 3. Exodus 20 and 3. What does it say? I mean, it's up on the screen if you want to see it.
Thou shalt have no other God before me.
You shall have no other gods before me. Don't put anybody else before me. You see, God gave them that commandment. Again, God did not give this commandment to everybody. This commandment was given to the children of Israel as a covenant between them and God. That's why the other nations are out there all worshiping false gods. But look at what God told the children of Israel time after time. Do not be like the other nations to worship false gods. Don't make any false gods. Yes, you were in Egypt, in a land where they worship false gods, but I brought you up from Egypt. Now that I brought you up from Egypt and set you free, you're no longer under the obligation of the pharaohs to worship their God. I want you to worship no other God but me. Don't put any God before me. That's the very first commandment. So God is actually establishing, or he has established his supremacy. Jesus said the same thing. Jesus said, in order for you to be my disciple, you have to hate mother and father, siblings, and everyone else. You got to put me first. He was saying pretty much the same thing. If you want to be my disciple, you have to put me first. So when we actually make anything become a priority between our God, or put anything else before God, then we are committing idolatry. Go ahead, Brother Sion. He got the mic. He coming to you.
This is one of the things come up in my Bible study. It was actually about this concept, right? Idolatry. And my concept was, okay, that's, like we just talked about all the other sins that just come up. But then with idolatry, it's kind of one of those where it kind of flies on the radar. And I notice it's because, like I noticed how you said with society and how people can dress a certain way. But if you notice like how our world is set up for idols, I mean, think about it. How many of us have a phone? We bow down to that phone, tell them how many times a day. Most of us even have a television set where we can watch it all day. But we could forget about those other things because we notice, like how you say, with like looting or going out. But then we forget when the Super Bowl or big events come and how big these events and typical things that make our life in today's time seem more enjoyable. Them idols.
Yeah. And I was, you went into my comment. Yeah, but I'm going to actually open the floor a little bit before I actually touch on it. So who else want to go on with that, with the idolatry? Come on, this should be something that every Christian jump on, like Sion said, when it comes to idolatry. Go ahead, Sister CG.
I would say any addiction.
Okay.
Food can become an addiction. So you can idolize food, or there goes the gluttony.
Mm-hmm.
So you are idolizing the things that you get addicted to, whether good or bad.
Yeah.
But the idolatry will turn the good things into bad if you're not careful.
Right. Do you think? Go ahead, brother Baker.
Well, I remember wrestling, boxing. That was number one for me.
Boxing
and wrestling.
All right. Yeah.
So that was bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Brother Sion got another.
But then why is it that, like, that seems normal? Like, idolatry, like, we talking about this stuff, these things, but now if we went back just a few commas before, words before, those are the difficult, stuff. But then these things like gluttony, I love a good buffet myself. I'm a little overweight myself. But then it's like, when you looking into all these other things, it's like, why is idolatry one of those words? When I sit and think about it, I'm like, wow, this is a fact. Like, honestly, I'm gonna speak for me. You see what I'm saying? So anybody who ever feel they got certain things in their life that they deal with, whether it is a phone or it is a mirror or whatever it may be. But I was just thinking about that. Why is it like this word, we hear it, because for the longest time of my life, I'm going to cut it short. For the longest time of my life, I'm like, okay, if I ain't worshiping a tree or something like that, I'm good. Or another guy, I'm good. But then it's like, nah, you got things like I love, I mean, I ain't going to say love. I like motorcycles. I like little cars. But then it's like, they things I like way more than that stuff. And I'm like, wow, it's adultery right here. So I just wanted to, my mind is all over the place because I like this concept.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Okay. I want to make sure we don't lose the concept.
Go ahead.
Okay, when we talk about having no other gods before me, my understanding is anything that you put before God, it's when it become an adultery issue. If let's say a football game, we talked about the football, we talked about the wrestling, we talked about the food and all of this. When we put it before God, we supposed to give God thanks for our food. We know we shouldn't overeat the food because that's a sin. I mentioned motorcycle. Motorcycle's fine. It's a means of transportation. It's a means of your relaxation. But if you know that there's something going on that it takes you away from God, then it becomes an adultery. We can put our children before God when we should be putting our children before God. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We should be praying for our children.
Bring them before God like Job did.
Yeah. We should be praying for our children. But when we let our children take us away from God, then there's a problem. So anything that takes us away from God, I consider adultery.
Can your job become an idol?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, there are so many people who are more committed to their job than they are to the kingdom. And God said that we're all laborers in the kingdom. Jesus even said to pray to God to send us more laborers because why? The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. But there are people who are more committed to their work, their civic duties, than they are to the kingdom's duties. There are more people who are, I'll just use that again, like, I have to be a part of this particular thing right here. There is nothing wrong with being a community activist. But if I make my community activism more important than my service to God, I have just made that an idol. We were talking about food and all of those things. Yes, we can actually put all of those before God as well. You can put yourself before God.
Right.
And sometimes, you don't even realize it. Why? Because the devil will actually make it seem like a lot of these things are, they are nothing. They're nothing. And I'll use your example again. Like he used an example about motorcycle, right? What if I was the type of guy, and I don't think that you are that type of guy, but how many of those people that would actually, you see a lot of them rolling down the streets. I'm not going to judge their personal conviction or anything, but I'm actually just using what I see as an example. Okay? Now, I go out there and I make sure that my bike is just like nice and shiny. I have every little thing, every little, what you call them, all them little additions you can actually add to the bike is on there.
Custom parts.
Right, so accessories. You accessorize the bike, right? You could have believers who would want to have a nice bike like that. Accessorize the bike. I could accessorize my car. I could accessorize whatever. And I spend more money accessorizing my car than I actually give to the Lord on a Sunday morning.
And that's
You see how you've just created a God? Because now I've put all of my effort, all of my time, I put that before God. You talk about the television and stuff like that. Now you can actually do that again. Now, if God is supposed to be priority in my life, because some of us, we know that we have best friends, right? How many times a day you probably talk to your best friend? Your best friend probably call you 9, 10 times a day. And you won't say, you bothering me, you called me too much. You probably think that they got something important to tell you. Okay, maybe not your best friend. Let's just say like your boo. Yeah, you know that person that your heart skips a beat over? Yeah, they call you 10 times, 20 times. And you know, you phoning over the phone. You want to talk to them, right? You want to see what's going on. And guess what? Well, I'm not even phoning over God like that. I don't even want to talk to him at all because he knows my heart. Now you see how you can make a lot of stuff become a priority over God. And this is exactly what God is saying. When it comes to me, I should be first. I should be first in everything. I want you to, do you remember God telling those people, I want you to write my words down. And practically, I want you to wear them on you. Put them on your frontlets, the phylacteries and everything, right? Put them on your frontlets. They should be between your eyes. Every time. He said to teach them how? When you rise up. Teach them when you leave your gates. Teach them as you go along the way. Teach them when you... And so he's saying, like, when it comes to me, I should be priority in everything. But we're not putting God first and making him priority. We're putting other things in. I come to an individual. How is it that we can come to complete strangers? And we can come to complete strangers and even get in arguments over how the Super Bowl went. I'm going to use the Super Bowl because it's coming up. You can talk to somebody that you've never met for 3 hours, 4 hours on why your team is better than his team and all the records that your team may have set and his team has yet to achieve. Why this team is going to win the Super Bowl and who's the better player and who's the this. And you can discuss all of that wonderful things. 3 hours with a stranger without one time even telling him or her that, hey, you know what? How is your soul? See, now we put the game ahead of the gospel. And what we've done now, we've gone into the world and we've preached the Super Bowl to every creature, but we didn't preach the gospel to every creature. And so some people know more about our political affiliations. They know more about where we stand on certain social issues. They know about all of that stuff, but they don't know about where, we still haven't told them. So we could put things before God, and God is like, have no other God before me. And we talk about Paul, remember? Paul told Timothy, I have fought, Timothy, I fought the good fight. He said, I've kept the faith. He said, I finished my course. I did everything that God asked me to do, everything Jesus asked me to do. I've done it. And now I have a clear conscience, Timothy, that there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness. Paul was convinced that I did. He said that even when I was in prison, I was still preaching the gospel to people in prison. Even after they beat me, I was still preaching the gospel. Even after they stoned me and left me for dead, dragged me out of the city, I still returned back to the city to finish what I've started, to preach the gospel. He said, I did all of that. And because I knew that I have a mission. But what about us? So again, idolatry. You're putting things before God. See that? Now, when you allow anything to come between you and God or before God, that's a dangerous thing. So some of us, we only have the imagery of idolatry as hand-carved images from wood and stone and maybe glass or crystal or whatever. But it doesn't have to be. And that's, again, because the devil plays a trick on your mind that unless it's a statue, it's okay. And so many of us, we grow up into thinking, Brother Morris, brother, you know what, man, they want me to do everything at the job. They want you to do everything at the job. No, the money is enticing. And because the money is enticing, You ain't paying me to come to church, but they paying me to come to the job. Y'all ain't. I know it may be hard stuff to hear, but it's the truth. And anyway, y'all all right? I'm just going to make sure that you're all right. Go ahead, Sister Mary. You have your hand up.
And I was going to say,
don't want nobody beating
and
me
you hit on this just a moment ago, but we don't feel like idolatry is a big sin
No.
because the devil wants us not to think of it as a big sin.
Oh, yeah.
All of these are sins, and they all will keep us out of heaven.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why Bible studies and listening to preaching, that's why all of that is important, because once we learn that these things are wrong, once it's brought to our minds, we need to do something about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because as we all know, he that knoweth to do good and doesn't do it, to him it is sin.
Yeah. But you see, again, like you said, the devil brings something to us. And the devil has taught us very well how to rationalize. And every time we rationalize, all we're trying to do is justify our behavior. And now if we're satisfied that my justification is okay, then I think I'm in the clear. But the Bible lets us know that we do not need to be wise in our own eyes. See, and too many of us are wise in our own eyes that we want to rationalize and convince ourselves that it is not idolatry. And as long as I convince myself it's not idolatry, I'm okay. Just like Sister Jackie says, as long as I continue to bungee jump and then like, oh, I didn't, I didn't do nothing wrong. Go ahead, Sister Jackie. She got her hand up. She had her hand up for a while.
I can't tell you nothing no more.
Yeah.
I was just want to say, sometimes I would have, we'd have moments when I was at work, and somebody will come in and just get to talking about something, and I don't know if it worked with everybody on the job like that, but something will get to going and everybody's getting into it. Okay, everybody's going to the gym, and I remember one of the workers was just talking about it one day and came over talking to me about it, and I did. I said, I need to be going around here talking about Jesus like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason for me walking around here uplifting the gym. And I just feel like if I'm not going to talk about him like that, there's no reason for me to even, I'm not even going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she looked at me strange. But, it just, I'm like, I know what the gym can do for you, but not like what Christ can do for you,
Mm-hmm.
And there was also another situation I was about to do, I think about a year ago. Girl was running for one of these little political things, and so they got this little program set up where you can go out and knock on doors for them and all this sort of thing. So I had said I would do it, and I don't know, I got home and I got to thinking about that thing, and I said, well, you know what, if you can go knock on a door and try to tell them who this person is to vote for, you can go on out here and be campaigning for the Lord.
Yeah. Cast your ballot.
And I did. I let them know that it was something that I was not going to do.
Yeah. See, Sister Jackie, she's just so transparent. I'll go ahead, Sister Franny got her hand up there. She got her hand up.
Thank you. Is symbolicness a form of idolatry?
Huh?
Like symbolicness, like when you symbolize something?
Oh, yeah, I'm coming to that too.
Okay.
Yeah, I was coming to that too. I was coming to that next. So, yeah, I'm going to mention this. Chris got his hand up. Oh man, I thought Chris was giving a thumbs up or something.
Nah. Just one little last one with idolatry. I think about the story where Jesus talked about the rich man, where he was like resting on his laurels about how much he had, and instead of thinking about all the glory that God had given him, he's thinking like, hey, I've done all this great stuff, and thinking about his future. And of course, in the story, God took it from him and he died.
Right.
And how many of us will like kind of think like that instead of like, and there's no harm in resting on your laurels, but kind of remember where it came from instead of look at all the good I've done. Like, you could have said for like your career, like, hey, I've done all these great things in X amount of years and stuff, and yada yada yada. So, thank God I made this far. The people to hear. And there's a lot of us that think like, we'll forget because we'll start putting that ahead instead of realizing where all those blessings come from. And it's an easy way to forget because you will start at home beginnings, but once you kind of get full of yourself, you get filled with that pride of life, and you just forget it, and all of a sudden God becomes less and less and less. Like, there's times when people will, like, I think I've even said in a sermon before, people bargain and say, God, if you let me do this, I will give you all that. And sure enough, may bless you with it. You sit aside. You forgot all about that promise.
Yeah.
You just think you got yourself to that point. So that was my last thing with idolatry.
Yeah, but here is what I was actually going to say on that, on the idolatry part. Here in the United States, the biggest form of idolatry that we see going on, materialism and nationalism. Nationalism and materialism. I'll talk on the materialism stuff real quick, and then I'll talk on the nationalism stuff. And I'll try to see if I can do it all before 8 o'clock. She said, I got 5 minutes. Don't hold me to it. Yeah. Ain't nobody want to go. Ain't nobody want to go home anyway. Right. I was just saying. But with materialism, everybody loved the excesses. All right? And you could just look out there and you can see it. Everybody want to have, well, let me not say everybody, but a lot of people. We just have to have excess. You know, 1 or 2 vehicle may not be okay or satisfying, but I need 5. 3 or 4 pair of shoes just is not enough because we need 20. And we make the excesses in that, right? You can see all the people who have the garages full, and they ain't driving none of those cars. The rich people, they ain't driving none of those cars. I got 20 Ferraris, this, that, or the other, and I have a staff of people who's actually out there wiping them down every week, making sure they look pretty, and all of that stuff. And it's just for the material thing, right? We also have it again, like I said, nationalism, right? Because every American makes a pledge of allegiance, not to God, but to the Constitution. To the Constitution. And many people, even many that I've served with, and many people who are still in the military today, they know that the possibility exists where I can go and die. I can go to the front lines and die. And I'm not going to the front lines to die because I'm actually taking the gospel to the front line. No, I'm going to the front line to die because I'm defending the Constitution of the United States above all enemies, foreign and domestic. We have just made the Constitution an idol. And Jesus said, greater love had no man than this, than to lay down his life for his friends. And now we've just become friends with the Constitution because I'm willing to lay down my life for the Constitution of the United States, but I'm not willing to lay down my life for the gospel's sake. You see how you can actually make all these things. Every morning in some school, kids are standing with hands over hearts. I pledge allegiance to the flag of America, or flag of the United States and the republic for which it stands, right? So you're doing all of that. Nationalism. That's why I sometimes, when I comment in my sermons, you know, and I'm commenting because of things like these, when I say, every American going to heaven. Because only in America does somebody die, and they're always in heaven looking down on us. They always make it to heaven, no matter how type of life they live, and we're going to see them one day. The Bible tells us that the body that you see, it was only meant for you to recognize each other because nobody can see spirits. But God breathed his spirit into his creation. So the Bible said when you die, the body, the physical body that you can recognize, that go back to the dust. The spirit that God gives, that goes back to God. So there is a piece of every man that goes back to God, the part that he gives. But the conscience, the seat, the reasoning, yeah, God says you have control over that. And therefore, that is what goes to be judged. And then again, we need to understand that upon death, that seat of reasoning, it knows where it's going. That's what Jesus gave in the parable with the rich man and Lazarus. So there are people who are dead right now who already know where they're going. They know that they're sitting over here waiting. They know that there are some people over here waiting. You just can't see it because you're still in this physical realm. Yeah. So all you're waiting for on the day of judgment is final. Yeah, that was just to wake you up. Final verdict. Final Destination. That was a movie. Final Destination. Anybody got any questions? Because I know y'all are looking at me like, Brother Morris, it's 8 o'clock. Yeah, and we ain't even touched sorcery yet. And we still got stuff more that we can actually do on idolatry, but we haven't even touched sorcery yet. So anybody got any questions? Going once? Yeah. Going once, twice. Again, yeah, let me do that for you real quick because we're talking about that. Yeah, many of us can actually make different symbols, and the symbols can become our God. Many of us can. Oh my goodness. There are some things that can actually become so close. Anybody in here in the Greek society, Greek fraternity? Nobody? You can even make those gods and the symbols that they represent, the symbolism they represent. Masons? I know you ain't going to tell anybody you're a Mason. So yeah, I was just only testing you. You ain't going to tell nobody. But again, the symbolisms that they hold dear. See, you can actually make them God. So all of us, again, so many things. So it doesn't have to just be a piece of wood, a piece of concrete, a piece of marble, or whatever it is. You can create it because you can create your own theology, you can create your own ideology, and you can create your own priorities. Now, is everybody okay? Can I really take my seat at some point? For now, she said for now. Look, I want to say thank each and every one of you for